I want to talk about Trumpinator's 50-year mortgage plan. I want to go a little bit into Mamdani winning the mayoral election in New York City. I want to talk about these things, and I want to make fun of the left-wingers who are just absolutely spineless little babies who cry about everything but have no strategy. And then we're second just talk about how absolutely stupid people are who believe that Donald Trump has their best interest, because just simply looking at a 50-year mortgage, I just bought this 50 acres here. Okay, so I'm sitting in the cornfield, right? 50 acres. One of the first things that you learn when you're buying property and buying land, yes, there's ways that you can use it as leverage. You can use equity. You can use, longer term mortgages, because you can have a slightly less monthly payment, which can help you move money around, blah, blah, blah. That all makes sense. I understand it. I have 6 different properties. I get it. But you guys who want to believe this stuff from the Trumpinator, and you're looking at it going 50-year mortgage, there's some real key factors you have to comprehend. One, okay, interest rates go up the longer the term is on the mortgage. Please, for the love of God, keep that in mind. Okay, it's very simple. If I have a 15-year mortgage right now, I'll pay 5 to 5.7% interest. If I have a 30-year mortgage, I'll pay probably 6.5% interest. If I had a 50-year mortgage, I'd be paying like 7.5% interest, something along those lines. It doesn't make sense to have, for the risk of the bank, and this is where you guys on the right are absolutely ridiculous, because you refuse to acknowledge how this dude, one, is like a backdoor socialist in the sense that he just gives all of his boys fucking handouts. Sorry with the swear word there. But then also you're looking at this going, the people who win are the bank. Okay, so let's say it is a 50-year mortgage, and we just go through the 15, the 30, the 50. Okay, so if I have a monthly payment on a 15-year mortgage, let's say I have a $500,000 home, and this is a big thing here that I think everybody's got to realize, is that if you're going to buy a house, 1, 7 out of 10 people are living paycheck to paycheck. 2, you've got to be able, the average person can only afford about $250,000 homes, but the average home price right now in the United States is about $480,000. So a lot of you guys that are thinking about this, you better realize you shouldn't be buying a big house, period. Don't do it. It's a bad financial decision. And in most cases, it's probably a better financial decision to rent for a while. The issue is there is some aspects of stability in your family. You can't look at this from a strictly business perspective. But if we're looking at having equity and having an asset, a 50-year mortgage will not get you equity. Now, if we do the math, okay, as I'm ranting too much, if we just do the simple math, we put 100K down. Okay, we put 100K down, and this is where I was going to go, is that the only chance of these 50-year mortgages actually rolling is if they're subsidized by the government. So all you like small government, less regulations, but then you have a guy who's giving money to Argentina, and you'll say, oh, well, Biden did it. Well, it wasn't okay when Biden did it. Why is it okay now? We're going to subsidize these 50-year mortgages. You're going to have to make it affordable. Now, going back to this, gosh, I'm getting off on freaking emotional rants because I just got that emotion deep inside of me. Okay, Blue Jays are even pissed right now. Okay, so if we're going 100K down on a 15-year mortgage, what are your monthly payments going to be? $3,200, right? Somewhere around that. If we're buying a $500,000 house, 5 to 5.7%, you'd be between $3,000 and $3,600 a month. Okay, you pay it off in 15 years. The amount of money the bank gets from that, I didn't do the math on this, but it's not going to be nearly as high as the other two scenarios. You get a 30-year mortgage, okay? You're going to put 100K down. You're going to finance that 400K at about a 6.5% mortgage rate, interest rate, okay? So then that's going to look at, you're going to be paying like, let's say around $2,500 a month. At the end of this, if my math internally is accurate, you're going to end up spending about $800,000 to $900,000 for your $500,000 home. So about, let's say 400K goes towards the bank with interest. Now, at the end of 30 years, you have the equity of the home. The other issue that we have here is that most people only live in their house for about 12 years. Okay, so if you're paying, 30-year mortgages, you can still get a decent amount of equity at the end of 12 years, and you can use that as leverage to a point, but it's still not as much a leverage as you would actually think, especially with how expensive things can be. Now, in the final scenario, on a 50-year mortgage, and this, let's just play the game that you're gonna get the interest rate at the same amount as 6.5%. You're gonna spend $1.3 million over 50 years. And you're probably gonna be dead well before you actually have it paid off. And the amount of equity that you'd have at 12 years is probably gonna be like $40,000. It's the dumbest freaking idea. And the fact that nobody on the right is gonna call him out on this, you guys are soft, dude. It's absolutely insane that we can think through this. And then the biggest factor here, if you want to buy a property, because again, I just bought this 50 acres. You got to have the money down. I would recommend 20% down, okay? If you're a first-time home buyer, I actually think the FHAs are okay. The second big factor is that you also have to factor in your move-in costs. Okay, so what are you going to do for closing, right? Like when you close, you got to spend more money, and you don't think about it until you're actually doing it. But even when you're signing the contract, you're spending more money. Then the move-in costs I also like to bring up is what could go wrong the first 6 months? And I think you should have another $20,000 to $40,000 cash. Sorry, that's how it is, right? That's the world. That's the way shit works. The third aspect, you should be able to have at least a year's worth of monthly payments in the bank. So if I'm spending $2,500, let's just say $2,000, I better have another 25 to 30K sitting in the bank for the monthly mortgage payments. Now that might be a more aggressive thing, but at least have 5 to 10K in the bank so that you can go 2 to 3 months and not worry about it if you lose your freaking job. But when we're looking at this freaking 50-year mortgage, and no one's calling bullshit, and no one's sitting there going, like, this is the thing. A lot of people are saying this argument too, is like, okay, well, we're going to get a $2,000 stimulus, which is a handout. It's a handout. You're getting a handout, okay? Sorry, that's what this $2,000 stimulus is. And that's how they're going to use this. You could use that stimulus to pay your monthly mortgage. People won't do that. They'll go to freaking Target, they'll buy AirPods, whatever dumb shit they think that they need, and they won't actually use it effectively to make them more money and to make themselves wealthier. And this is where it goes into the Mamdani thing, is it reminds me how Mamdani right now is saying, okay, well, if I put people down around the subway and we try to recoup our subway expenses that we're losing from people jumping the toll, we can then use that to pay for the free buses that I promised in my campaign. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's not going to happen. And we know it's not going to happen. There's too many moving pieces. So for all of these, and this is where with politicians, you guys on the left, you guys on the right, refuse to acknowledge and refuse to look at these things for how absurd they are. And then you probably clicked off before I even started this video because I was already making fun of the right and left because you're so emotional, just like I am getting right now, because the 50-year mortgage is absolutely insanely stupid. And the fact that anyone, like, the only people who are really promoting and pushing this around were developers, because a developer who is a big-time home developer, and that's literally who the most popular people were pushing this 50-year mortgage around after he tweeted it or put it on his bullshit website, Truth Social, they are the ones that will benefit from it because they're going to be getting a government subsidy to build homes on a 50-year mortgage. So I wanted to do this 50-year mortgage rant because it's absolutely insane. And the big goal, like, trust me on this one, the first home that I bought, I was fortunate enough, I was in a position, we bought it at 3.5% on the mortgage rate. And we still have not paid it off because it's so low. It's so insanely low. I can make more money in my freaking, in my money market account. It's crazy. So, but the second property that I bought, we had about a 4.5% mortgage rate, and we've paid this off. We paid it off within about 12 years. And the reason being is that we looked at it, and we wanted to pay ahead of schedule, like a month and a half to 2 months at a time, every pay period, because we just had this goal mentally to pay it off very quickly. We paid it off quick. We did the same thing with another property that was $900,000 property. We own that entirely. And the thing that I'm trying to get at here is that you've got to play the game of who's going to be the one getting wealthy in these situations. And in most of this, in a 50-year mortgage, it's going to be the developers getting buyout money or getting government subsidies to do this, to make it so that the 50-year mortgage makes sense. The bank's going to make money, and you're going to be the one who dies, doesn't have any equity, and your kids are left over with your house. That's what a 50-year mortgage does for you. Hope this helps somebody out there. Until next time, peace.